Welcome to Ash and Lib. I'm Libby.
And I'm Ashton.
And we're doing Esther chapters 4 and 5 this week.
Yeah, so in Esther 4, Mordecai learns about what Haman is planning on doing and killing all of the Jews. And
Esther's maid saw him, saw Mordecai weeping at the gate.
With his burlap, he put on burlap and ashes, which
That was not allowed.
Yeah. So he went to the gate and he was weeping and crying. Yeah, it was Esther.
So the maids saw him and then they told Esther. And so Esther wanted to know what was going on, so she sent a messenger to go ask Mordecai what was up. And so Mordecai told the messenger all the plans. So Esther, she was like, oh my gosh, she was just basically what should she do? And she knew she couldn't go to the king because she hadn't finished all her beauty treatments. And so she decided she was gonna fast about going to the king and presenting herself in front of him.
Yeah. Well, Mordecai tells her, this is exactly what he says. Don't think for a moment that because you're in this palace, you will escape when all other Jews are killed. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place. But you and your relatives will die. Who knows if perhaps you are made queen for just a time as this.
Yeah, I love that part.
Yeah.
Maybe you're made queen for such a time as this, because it's God specifically put her in that situation because she could be the person to change what happened to the Jews. But I also see it as something I read said that basically God was still going to use someone, even if it weren't Esther, to deliver the Jews from that situation. But in that situation, Esther could be chosen to be the vessel instead of it being someone else. And so I think that just shows we need to step into our role and basically be Esther in that situation.
Yeah. And Esther says, if I must die, I must die. So she wants to help her people and do what God is telling her to do, and she's doing it at any cost, which could even be her life. Because if the king didn't accept her and put out his royal scepter, then she could die. So she was so obedient, and she even got it. It even talks about how her and her friends fasted, or her and her people, her maids fasted, and that's such a big thing too. She had people around her that she trusted with that as well, and
so that surrounding yourself with people who are doing the same things as you. It's what Esther did.
Yeah.
She consulted God before making any decision or taking any action.
And did what God told her to do. And then in chapter 5, that's when Esther put on her royal robes and entered.
Yeah, she went to the king.
Into the palace.
And the king, he immediately had offered her half of the kingdom.
Yeah, well, first he set out his royal scepter.
And she touched it.
Yeah, and so that was him saying come on. And she went in, and he says
he was happy to see her. He's obviously thinks she's pretty, and she had favor to the king.
Yeah, and he says, "What do you want, Queen Esther? What is your request? And I will give it to you, even if it's half the kingdom." And Esther says, "I want to invite you and Haman to a dinner party that she's throwing." and a banquet she has thrown for the king, and she wants Haman to come too. So the king sets out for Haman and tells him to come. They're at this banquet, and the king asks her again, "What do you want, Queen Esther, even if it's half the kingdom?" And she says, "I want y'all to come, you and Haman to come to
dinner tomorrow."
Yeah, the banquet tomorrow. Well, Haman goes back to his house and is boasting to his wife and friends about how Queen Esther asked him to be at this banquet, personally invited him. But as he's on his way home, he sees Mordecai outside of the gates in his burlap and ashes.
Yeah, it was something that you're not allowed to wear.
Yeah, what he had put on,
yeah.
And crying because he's still doing that. He's still there doing that. So he sees him and he's mad. Yeah, very, very mad. And so he says that to his wife and friends, and they suggest that he put up a 75-foot pole to impale Mordecai on when they kill the Jews.
So I mean, the rest of the story happens like in the later chapters, but I think that all throughout like these chapters, it just like shows like Esther's favor. I don't really know what other like lesson there is, but she was just favored by the king, favored by Mordecai, favored by the people, and she like spoke with respect to people even when they didn't deserve like to be respected. Like she talked to people with like very thought out like words, and like she's also like very slow to speak. Like even her delaying the dinner party and like saying she would tell him tomorrow kind of just shows like her like thought process behind things. And
yeah, I've never really thought of it in that way, how she like kept asking him to come back, because I've always thought, why didn't she just ask him the first banquet?
I wonder that.
So
she didn't ask.
It really does have to do with her character and being patient. So that's chapter 4 and 5. So come back next week for chapters 6 and 7. I almost said 5 and 6. All right, bye.